I bought a Camaro SS from the dealer auction that was listed as having an engine problem, but the engine sounded like this. And it runs pretty darn well too. It was also listed as having a transmission problem too, and well, that sounded like this. Okay. And like this. Oh yeah. And like this. Now I tried a few different repairs in between all of those grinds, like changing out the transmission fluid and bleeding the entire clutch system, but nothing fixed it, and so out she came. Now normally a grinding transmission would cost you many thousands of dollars to fix, but I'm gonna try and do this on a budget and show you guys at the same time, because I think rebuilding a manual transmission could be a very DIY project, even if you've never done it before, because guess what? I've never actually done it either. So I'm gonna fix this on a budget, I hope, because I kind of paid a lot for this car. Come on, no one bid, no one bid, no one bid, no one bid, no one bid. And it's sold to me, $15,300 plus shipping, about $15,700. These things are worth mid-20s, so hopefully it doesn't cost me too much to fix. But for now, let's rip this thing apart. Hope we don't find anything too bad. I think I found the issue.
Well, the transmission is almost all the way put back together and I messed something up. What is that? Okay, that's not good.
And then we're gonna rebuild it because it's summer. I wanna go for a nice, leisurely cruise in my Camaro SS. All right, the TR6060 is moving over to the table for disassembly. Let's see if I can do this by myself. Oh. So if you guys saw the reveal video, you know that we found a Haynes repair manual in the glove box. And I'm like, all right, I'll use this to rebuild my manual transmission. But this is the entire manual trans section. It is basically 3 pages, and it tells you not to do it at all. Overhauling a manual transmission is a difficult job for the DIY person, do it yourselfer. So yeah, it goes on to basically tell you, don't do it, bring it to a shop. So I remember the Haynes manuals being a little bit more detailed, where they would, tell you exactly how to do something like this, but I guess not anymore. All right, looking pretty good. And we're gonna start parts list going. We're gonna get a new O-ring. So we're gonna do speed sensor O-ring. You can see inside where the sensor sits, that is the reluctor wheel, and when it spins, it can count the spaces in between. It's transmission mount time. Easy. I know a lot of you guys are like, oh, the tires on that thing are bald in the back and the transmission's grinding, it was probably beat on. I'm not saying it wasn't, it's got the Power Tour sticker, but I will say this, the transmission mount and the engine mounts are original from 2009, which is an indication that maybe it wasn't beat up all that bad. It's easy to roast tires, and the earlier TR6060s had synchro issues, so it's not that crazy that it's grinding. Or I'm just trying to make myself feel better that this car was taken care of. One of them. For the shifter, we have clips we have to push out like that and like that, and then you simply slide it out. Pretty cool. Then we have 2 clips on the bottom, just kind of pry out like this. And, yeah, and it falls on the table. This one is loose. Pull the pin, slide that out, and then there's another pin here. Just like that. We've removed the shifter, and we'll put as many parts back where they came from as possible so we don't lose anything. All right, we have our skip shift solenoid, and yes, I'm using an adjustable wrench here on my transmission rebuild, even though Haynes told me not to do it because it requires lots of specialty tools. We haven't even made it into the inside, and I'm using an adjustable wrench. That's great. Get out of here, skip shift. We don't need you. You've been bypassed. Stop skipping my shifts, bro. Here's our trans temperature sensor. Go. This is our reverse sensor. Kind of a weird angle here. They gooped this up from the factory. Look at that. GM never wanted that to leak. Look at all that stuff. Crazy. This is actually a really cool switch. Just a little ball bearing that moves in and out. That's it. Switch, switch, switch. We have a little line here for the transmission cooler, and that just pops right out after you release this clip. Next up is our yoke, and I'm gonna put this transmission down for that because I'm not that tall. I can't hover over the transmission. Oh. Okay. There we go. Slides right off. Washer, don't forget that. Shifter time, we have 413s. This is sealed with RTV, I believe. There we go. Yeah, cool. No gasket. just some RTV. Now let's take a look at the condition here. Everything looks great, and there is a bushing right here, and that looks to be in excellent condition too. We're gonna remove this back cover now, so we have a few 15s. Last bolt, we have a tag here. Something I like to pay attention to are bolt lengths. So while we're taking these out, remember the length. This is RTV as well. They give you a little space right there. Oh, you hear that difference? Doesn't look like it, but this has separated. See that? There we go. Perfect. Ah, fluid. My beautiful, beautiful transmission fluid. There we go. Now this guy will slide right off, and we can start to see cool stuff. Gears. Manual trans things. Woo! All right, everything back here so far looks pretty awesome. Oh yeah, I figured out why our fluid looked clean. There are 2 gigantic magnets with metal on them. Sweet. This is really cool stuff if you've never seen the inside of a manual transmission, but these are your synchros. So right now we're free spinning, and this is the synchro slider. Let me show you guys what happens when we shift. I've reinstalled the shifter plate, and if we do this, we're mimicking our shifter. So if we go this way, there we go, and back. You just saw the synchro slider go over those teeth, meshing them together, and now everything is spinning as one, so we're in gear currently. So anyway, we're gonna see a bunch more cool stuff like that, but you just saw the synchronizers meshing together during a gear change. Right now, the transmission's in neutral, so you'll see it'll spring back in place. And so next, we're gonna remove a detent that makes that all happen. And we're gonna take out a spring, and then we have a sleeve. Whoa, come here. Get over here. Slippery little feller. Then we have a sleeve. No! Ah, there we go. All right, so this is really, really cool. Look at that roller. It looks like a roller lifter. That is sweet. I'm gonna officially call this my favorite part of the internals of this transmission. It's a lifter. That's so cool. Overall, the transmission case looks really clean, except this is the vent here, and over time, you'll get a little bit of fluid spray and it'll make it look dirty. Obviously, no one will see that, but you know I like to clean stuff. And you know I love my American-made release, made right in Wisconsin. You can clean anything from transmission and engine parts to literal car interiors with this stuff. It's amazing. Look at that. It's better to let it soak. Watch, we'll let this soak for a few minutes. The dirt and grime just wipes away. Look at that. Look, we can find official GM stamps. It says okay. So we just cleaned a transmission up. Let's see if we can clean up white leather on a Mercedes. Agitate with a very soft bristled brush. And you can see the dirt coming right off. And we'll just wipe this off. Oh man, just ridiculous difference. So obviously I gotta do the entire seat, but you can see where the release drip down is super clean. Look at that, it's like a whole different color. I've been using release on the interiors of my car for quite some time. It doesn't smell, it just simply cleans, and it cleans well, and it's gentle. So if your interior needs some love, give it some release. And when I say this is all surface, I mean it is all surface. I mean, whether you're cleaning seats, transmission, black trim, look at that. Maybe a disgusting battery from your off-road ML. It just works. I could go on forever with uses for release, but glass is another good one. It'll leave your glass streak-free. You can use this to clean up your wheels as well, and you don't have to worry about it damaging the finish. And we use this at the house all the time. So I've cleaned up my disgusting grill on my deck. Ketchup that got all over a white cabinet is just gone. And something else I love with the release is you can get this in different containers and concentrations. So you can buy the pre-mixed 32-ounce spray bottle. Amazing. It'll do most every single job. But the most affordable way to do this is to buy the 1 gallon concentrate. You can get it in this container as well. So if you do buy it in the 1 gallon concentrate, you can make about 80 of these 32-ounce bottles for only about $1 each. That is the best deal in the business of all surface cleaners. This one's made in the US, guys. They also sell this really awesome pumper, which no joke has like a little blow-off valve. You guys have seen me use this on the shop floor. It's amazing. But of course, the best part is if you guys click on my link down below and use coupon code LEGIT, you're gonna get 10% off your order, and they do sell this on Amazon as well, so I'll drop that link also. Get yourself some release, and let's go release my transmission of broken parts. There are a few roll pins that we're gonna need to remove with a punch and a hammer. There we go. You can see the roll pin coming out the bottom there, and we're gonna stick a magnet on it so we don't lose it. And now this will slide out. There we go. Yeah. We don't lose that. Now we have to remove everything right here. So there are a few clips, and then a lot of this is pressed on. So we got our snap ring pliers that are gonna fit in like so. Spread this out, and we can just pull these off like that. Get off. There we go. With the snap ring gone, we have to remove this reluctor wheel for the speed sensor. It is pressed on. So a puller is going to be your friend. This is a 3-jaw puller. And if you don't own one of these, you can rent them for free at the auto parts store. So they're gonna go on like this, and you got 3 jaws, so use them. And you just tighten it up by hand so it stays like so. This looks really cool. Like, it looks like it should shoot out some kind of laser or something. I don't know what I'm thinking. I'm big into sci-fi movies, so really anything to me looks like it should shoot some sort of laser beam. All right, so now using a ratchet, we are just going to tighten this up, and it's gonna pull this off. There we go. I kind of feel it break loose. All right, so once you get going, this gets easier. It's just that initial break. Another tip of the trade here is you can heat this up, and it will expand it, just make it much easier to remove. Just make sure there aren't any seals or anything you could damage around it. Just a little heat goes a long way here. Oh yeah, it's coming right off now. Sweet. I flip the jaws around. These jaws are wider, so they just kind of grab on a little better. There we go. Cool, slides off like that. It doesn't look like it matters which way this goes on, but you never want to take a chance if you don't have to. I'm just gonna make sure that everything with a white mark faces the back. White faces rear, just in case it's a while before I put this back together. Don't want to forget. I removed 2 other C-clips, and now we can remove this bearing here. And when you're working on a transmission, it's little parts like this that you can't forget to put back. There's another one on the back side, and it just holds in the rollers like that. I removed 1 last snap ring, and now we can remove the reversed gear, and it just slides right off like that. More little parts to remember as we have these bearings. Like that. This is a dual bearing in 1 cage type of situation that rides in there. There is a washer here, so, you know, this is something maybe we'll zip tie together. All right, now there's no chance we messed this up. So here's some more internal synchronizer goodness. This will really help you guys visualize what is going on, but this is a friction cone, and you can see here that these teeth right here are meshed into the output shaft. And then these teeth for the other side of the synchronizer are on the reverse gear. So when you move this slider, this guy right here, you're pushing these together, and this friction is gonna slow down the speed of these synchronizers and make them line up and mesh. And so it's very possible that that friction is bad for the 2nd gear synchro. We're gonna find out because we're digging deeper in, but this is what one looks like when it's not bad. You know, it's nice and gold. I love gold. Hang on, I zip tied too early. We're gonna go ahead and move these pieces down here as well. There we go, just like that. There we go. Now we'll put it near the cupcake tin, so I'm kind of going in order of disassembly. We have our roll pin. We got into all this stuff. Next is right here. Everything in the beginning is also in order. More C-clips. These things are beastly, and then once I get it out of that groove, I have to do that like 4 more times. Not gonna lie, this part is kind of time consuming. Just sliding each one of these off. Come on, buddy. Yeah, went back. Great. More C-clips to be removed. There's a little guy, and I got another one out from there, so we should be able to get this slider out of here now. There we go. Take this out as an assembly like that. These plastic guides have a little ball bearing inside of them. They kind of just fall out, and we can remove this and put it in right here for safekeeping. And I gotta say, so far so good. We don't see any major gear damage at all. This looks perfect. And look at this little gate in here for the shifter. Sweet. So before I took this apart, I used my center punch to mark the slider. So we have a punch mark right there, and right there. It's kind of hard to see, but this will only go together one way. And even though these fell right out, they snap in like that. It's hard to tell, but we have a ring here that needs to be removed. Right here. And there should be 2 little halves. Yeah, one right there. We'll just let these fall. Okay, there we go. All right, that all goes together. We have another gear to remove, so we're gonna heat it up a little bit. Like butter. Look at that. Oh, this is gonna slide off. Look at that. It's holding on by like nothing. Ah. Ah. This happens with these 3 jaws. They slide off. It's annoying. Whew. Keep going, buddy. Don't fall off. Guys, I don't know about you, but I am so excited to see what's wrong with this transmission. It's probably gonna be messed up synchros, but there could be some good carnage in here, and I know that's at my expense, but I love carnage. Who doesn't like carnage? I mean, you guys gotta love carnage. It's definitely not at your expense. You get to see the carnage through my eyes and then go to sleep at night knowing that it's not your carnage and it's not your 3-jaw puller that keeps on coming off. Ugh. Let's try the gun. There we go. All right, sweet. We got our gear off. Yeah, in this case, we're definitely gonna wanna put this back the same way it came. And look at, they gave me a factory white mark. I removed another snap ring, so this will slide off now. We'll place it down and reassemble in reverse order here, like so. There we go. We have another friction for the synchronizer, and everything so far here looks pretty good. And here's another one of those sliders. Next, I have to remove this gear, and we need this tool, which is like $400, so we're gonna build our own for like $4. I've taken apart my 3-jaw puller. We're gonna turn it into a 2-jaw puller, but because the shaft is so long, the arms won't reach, so we need to make extensions of these. And I just went to the store and bought some flat stock. It is just about the same thickness. We want this to be strong. Just gotta drill some holes. All right, actually, first we're gonna make a little cut here. There we go. My favorite center punch tool. We'll drill some holes in this American iron. This stuff is strong. My step bit with a little oil is having better luck going through this. It's kind of crazy. I need better drill bits. A little more oil. All right, cool. Good deal. Just gotta do that a bunch more times and we're good. And here's our finished product. We've turned this into a 2-jaw puller because that is an option with these. So this has 3 legs or 2, and we've added our little extension arms. Looking pretty good. This looks, I mean, honestly, like if we painted this, it looked like a professional tool, and we just saved like $400. So now, since I have this snap ring removed, we're gonna do like all the other gears. This guy will line up right here and we'll tighten it up. There we go. Beautiful. Oh, so much easier with the 2-jaw. And it is already sliding off. I didn't even put any heat on this. And I love precision parts. This has got to go right through there. It can't be off at all or it would get stuck. So if these were twisted for whatever reason, I mean, you're dead in the water here. Power tool for the win. Look at that, would have taken forever by hand, but like anything, you just want to start it off by hand, especially when you're trying to mesh into another set of teeth there. So that's off. We have another synchro slider assembly coming out. I've already removed the C-clips. There we go. We're gonna get our, I don't know what we call these honestly, but these little pieces here. There is a proper name for every little piece in here, but I don't know what those are called. Let me know in the comment section. Plastic thingamajiggeries. All right, that's off. There we go. All right, that's all you need. All you need is heat. All you need is heat. You get the reference. All right, now, this stuff is really hot. I shouldn't touch it. Ow, 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 bam. All right, this one's looking good too. That's that. Now this one should come out a lot easier. Done. We have our bearings in there, and everything is just getting flipped upside down. It will all eventually go back in this way. That is still hot. Ow. Okay, I'd mentioned this in the last video, but heat is hot. That thing is hot. And a wise man once told me, heat is hot. And I apparently did not learn that. We got more parts? Yes, we do. More parts to remember for later. Let's go right there. And we don't want any of this to fall apart, so we'll do the zip tie. Perfect. All right, we are in the front of the transmission. That means we're getting close. We have 210s for the slave cylinder. And this has your throw out or release bearing as well. We're gonna remove this clip so we can remove the line. Okay, found it. And we can pull that line out, remove our slave. There she is. And this is definitely a part that you wanna replace while you're in there. There's nothing wrong with ours right now. But yeah, we'll get a new one. We have another roll pin for the shifter. And we have a bunch of bell housing bolts. All right, now we have to stand this up. I have a couple of pieces of wood here for the input shaft so it clears. A little bit of a balancing act, but we're good. So the instructions actually say to leave 2 of those bell housing bolts in, take these Torx out, and then hit those up. I left one of them in. I don't know, I think it'll be fine. And it looks like they do use a sealant here, so we'll have to remember that. And these are pins. All right, then we left an easily accessible bolt right here. All right, there she is. This is also sealed with our TV. There we go. Come on, baby. There we go. Oh, look at that. Now we're gonna find the good stuff. Here we go, and I think I found the issue. It's right in here. Let me show you. This is 4th gear. This is 3rd. This is 2nd, and this is 1st. If you notice, they get bigger as we go to 1st gear. So here is our synchro slider right now. It is in the middle synchro hub portion. So these are the teeth that are part of the 1st gear. So take a look at those. And this is a much better view on one of the other gears that we pulled off, but see how nice and pointy these teeth are? And these are part of the gear. So if these teeth get messed up, you gotta replace the whole gear. But look at how nice those are. And then take a look at second gear, those exact same teeth. See how they aren't pointy and they're kind of slanted off this way? They have been chipped off. So when this slide, I can't really do this right now because everything is kind of floating here without the case. But if we moved this slider up, it would be in first gear. When we move the slider all the way down, and this synchro sleeve meshes with these teeth, they're gonna grind because these are on an angle and they're not gonna line up. So anyway, we'll take a look at exactly what I'm talking about with this disassembled. Let's take it apart and put it on the bench. All right, so a lot of this should come apart just by pulling it up, and certain things have to be meshed. So we might have to do a little shimmy shamming, but this is the shift shaft assembly. There we go, shift shaft assembly. Be gone. I mean, stay together so I don't have to remember all that much. So we have this counter shaft to remove, and it should just slide up if we get this kind of out of the way. There we go. And what do we got going on here on the bottom? We have a bearing. All the bearings look fantastic, by the way. And you can see that that's only gonna go in one way. All right, then this heavy beast should all come out together with the shift forks and everything, just like that. Hey, there's our plastic thingies. Nickname these in the comments. What are these? They like to fall off. So we will gather these up and remove this, our input shaft. So on the input shaft, we have our direct drive fourth gear. This is the blocker ring. This is the outer ring, and this guy is the inner ring. So this one here is a friction, and there are updated carbon fiber ones, and that looks to be in really good shape. Everything here is fine, so we'll leave that like that. Take off our slider. All right, let's get this snap ring out of the way. Okay. That went flying. Be careful with those. All right, synchro hub needs a little bit of heat. Should come right off. There we go. Hub, blocker, outer, inner. And you guys see the L-shaped teeth on some of these gears? These are called non-advanced gears. And the one that's messed up on that second gear and some of the other ones are advanced gears. So the ones with the L, they almost kind of look like they're chipped and broken, but that's normal. That's what they're supposed to look like. And that's just how it is. There's a little mix and match in this transmission of having both styles. Now we can remove the entire third gear assembly, and there are bearings inside with a little spacer. Keep that all together. At this point, we are done pulling things off this way, and everything needs to come off this way in order for us to get to the repair. So of course, literally the hardest one to get to is right in the middle of this, and you have to disassemble every single gear to get to it. So that's cool. All right, guys, I wanna show you some shifting action so you can actually picture what's going on, because I know a lot of people, they just, when you shift a gear, the synchros line up, mesh, and it shifts gear. But what parts are doing what? And I was gonna do a voiceover with an animation, but I have the parts right here, and I got a voice. So here we go. So remember, this is first gear, and this is the output shaft. And so right now we're in a neutral state. So if you were in first gear, the slider would be this way, and now this first gear is connected to the output shaft. And when we're in first gear, this is spinning with this gear. And then for a split second, before you get into second, you're kind of in this neutral zone where the slider is on that synchronizer hub. So this is a very short amount of time while you're moving that gear selector. And then as you move the shift sleeve towards second gear, you're gonna start to mesh with the blocker ring that's gonna put pressure onto that bronze friction. The outer ring and the inner ring is all gonna mesh together, and eventually you are gonna be locked into second gear. And now this gear is spinning and spinning the output shaft. So now you are in second gear. So the issue is the teeth on that second gear are damaged. They're all kind of shaved off to one side. So if you're shifting with any kind of speed, it's not gonna line up properly and it's gonna grind. But I was able to kind of granny shift it and take my time and line them up to where sometimes it wouldn't grind. But that's eventually that would get really, really bad. And then when you go like this, it would be like, and so here are the three pieces, the blocker, and when you start moving that slider, these are all gonna mesh together and then lock together, and that's what that friction material's for. And while this is slowing down because it's applying that pressure gradually, that's where it matches the speed and the synchro all meshes together. And I hope that all of this is meshing together in your brain, because it's a lot to take in. But if you look at these parts and you just kind of think of the operation, It is very, very basic, and that's why manual transmissions were, well, was some of the first transmissions in any car. All right, guys, we have a very important step here that's coming up because we need to remove this bearing. It's pressed on. We need to remove this. We need to remove everything. The gear itself just slides off, but this bearing is what's holding us up, and something that we need to measure right now is the gap between this bearing and this gear, and I have it right at about 15 thousandths. Because this transmission didn't make any whining noises and it had no real other issues, we're gonna wanna go back together with 15 thousandths. If you measure your transmission, it might be a little bit different, and if you're not having issues, I would just go back exactly the way it was. All right, hang on. This is Alex from the future to warn you to not listen to Alex from the past for this one step. You don't need to measure anything with feeler gauges right now. This will all make sense later, but I just wanted to stop you here in case you're following along to rebuild your transmission. You don't need to do the feeler gauge thing. Just keep watching. The rest of the video is pretty awesome. This next part requires a press, and there's definitely a proper tool. It's a bearing splitter tool that looks like this, but it's much bigger to go around this gear. We don't have that tool, so we're getting creative. And this seems to work. So we just have a couple of pry bars, and the whole point here is that we're gonna push this shaft down, and this is all gonna come up, and it's the bearing that's actually pressed in, so this gear is gonna help us out. And in the work instructions, it actually shows you to press the bearing out with the gear. First, I'm gonna try and heat up this gear. I think this will just come off. You gotta love heat. It's so cool how this just slides right off now. Might need a little bit more. And we have some kind of, I don't know what this is. It's some kind of orange paste or something. I gotta give it some more heat. It's probably gonna fall down again. Let's see, can we move it with heat power? Yes! And then I gotta be quick about it and just slide this thing off before it shrinks. Quick. It's closing up on us right now. Yes, go, keep going, no! It stinks. Gotta heat it up again. All right, let me get in position here between the eclipse that I can't move and this that's really hard to move. We're gonna leave this here and it's just gonna press out with everything else. I just wanted to make sure this would just move with heat. All right, we're gonna be really, really careful here and slow, and this wood might break. So I'm holding the bottom of the shaft and we're going really nice and slow here. Look at this poor piece of pallet wood that's been sitting on my lot for the last 3 years. It's like, this wasn't supposed to be my life. Why are you doing this to me? You're working well, pallet wood. Yes! There we go. Okay, I got it. Ow, wrist caught it. Look at the pallet wood though. What a champ, look at that. Protecting our output shaft. Now, let's move out our special GM tools and we'll pull this guy out. Back to the table. We're heating this thing up one last time to get it to slide out. We really can't use the press all the way because then I'd have to hold the bottom forever. There we go. Ah, it moved. Yes, I did it. Ah, that's hot. Bearing's not too hot. That slides off this way. Ooh, a nice bearing too. Timken USA, baby. All right, now we have our first gear coming out. We got our synchros. You guys know all about these. You're synchro professionals at this point. And then we have another really cool looking bearing. I love these dual bearings. And we have more of our plastic thingamajiggers. We don't have a name for those yet. We have our slider. Then we have this ring here, and that houses these split rings here, or washers. We're gonna heat up our synchro hub just like before, and we're getting to the good stuff. Finally, we've taken apart the entire transmission to find what's wrong with it. All right, there's our hub, nice and toasty. And then last but not least, the actual issue with our transmission is, drum roll, second gear. The most popular to be shifted in. I don't know what that means. And here is the bear shaft in excellent condition. All right, so we know these teeth are chipped up, but what about the actual synchro rings? Let's take a good look. And these are unique because they have frictions on the inside and the outside. Right off the bat, I can tell that our blocker ring has heat spots that the other ones don't have. Yeah, you can see the blocker ring here looks much better. Oh yeah, that is really bad. Look at that. Wow, so this heated up like crazy, so it was not slowing down the speed so that these guys could mesh in properly. So that is probably the main issue here, is that these synchronizers did wear out and they did destroy the gear. I also think someone wasn't driving too nice from 1 to 2. But that's it, guys. That after disassembling literally everything, we found our issue, and by itself, this is a very, very inexpensive part. Well, I'll tell you exactly how much all of this is because, well, it's a few days later and we have all of the parts from Tremec. So here is the synchro for the 1 to 2 shift, and this was $45. And what's cool is now they are infused with carbon fiber. So this is an updated synchro kit. It's going to last much longer and be much stronger and resist heat as well. So that is sweet. Here is our new gear. It's about $150, and technically, right here is everything we need to fix this transmission. If we put these 2 parts in, we would be good, no more grind. So about $200 in parts plus fluid. But of course, we have this entire thing stripped down, so there's gonna be a bunch of while you're in there, and I want this transmission to be ready to go for another 200,000 miles. If you know how to drive. So for another $150, I was able to get an entire new slider with the synchro hub in the middle. So here are the old ones. Here's the new, although these are fine. I think we could totally replace this, but because this meshes into this, I figured, why not? Let's just do it. And then of course we got a master rebuild kit with all of the seals and the snap rings and all of the other synchros as well. So for every single internal transmission part that I bought, most of which don't actually need to be replaced, I spent $1,000. So that is not too bad. And if you guys followed this video along, you could do this at home. And if you brought a manual transmission TR6060 to a shop and just told them to fix your transmission, I mean, it would be many thousands of dollars, maybe 3,000 or 4,000, something like that for a rebuild. So you can save a lot of money and have fun too. I got a clutch and remain seal and stuff too. We'll get into that later, but let us rebuild everything. Here's a really good side-to-side comparison. This is the new part, this is the old. You can see how shiny and worn down it is versus this one. It's very pointy, ready to grip right in and make that gear change without any noise. But yeah, this thing was toast because of you guys not matching the speed of the teeth and the gears, and maybe going on the hot rod power tour and trying to show off too much. I could have done it too. I'm curious to see what the difference in thickness is. Oh wow, was that like 45 thousandths or something like that? That's a lot, guys. Like 45 thousandths of an inch difference between those 2 pieces of the synchro, that's bad. That means they are heavily worn out. In getting ready for reassembly, we have a nice coffee cup full of trans fluid, and we have a really clean toaster oven that I use for car parts. So that is set to bake, and let's go with like 350. Bam. All right, we'll heat that up. We're gonna use that a lot. And something else we're gonna do is soak all of our synchros in some transmission fluid while we assemble everything. That's just kind of good practice. All right, so I have a nice white cutoff t-shirt. There's lots of names for these. I'm Italian, so I'm just gonna call it a Dago tee for now. I can do that. We're gonna clean everything up really nice, and I'm gonna go ahead and use the transmission to hold our parts, and then we'll stack them all up right here. And there's a possibility we won't need the press at all if we get everything like this bearing nice and toasty in our oven. This thing is nice and preheated. Get a couple parts in there. Give that about 10, 15 minutes, we'll see. All right, first step, second gear needle bearings. So we're just gonna go ahead and dip those in some trans fluid, slide it down like that. And in our rebuild kit, we did get a new plastic spacer, and oddly enough, it's like the worn out looking one of the 2. This is the new one, and this is the old one. Kind of weird. We'll go with the new one. That goes on next, like that. And then we have our brand new second gear, so we'll just lubricate a little bit in there. This one will just slide right on. Right over the needle bearings. And there we go, guys. We fixed it. That's it. That was all that was bad. It's done. Oh my gosh, we have like 4,000 more pieces to go. All right, something else I'm doing to keep track of everything is I'm putting the bad parts in this box. So everything I replaced with new, I put the old parts right here. How much would it stink if I accidentally put the old second gear back on? I mean, they look identical. I triple checked with like my flashlight. I'm like, that would stink. All right, so next up we have to do our synchros, our new ones. So first up we have our inner synchro ring, just like that. Our outer, which you can call a friction, I guess, if you want. And you can see here that the outer is gonna fit in these little grooves. That's where the tabs go. And then we have the blocker that also is going to slide into these grooves on the inner ring. And that's it. These guys are ready to match speeds. All right, here we go. Hot, 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 hot. Slide on, little buddy. Oh, there we go. Perfect. All right, cool. All right, we gotta do a little press action here on this hub. See that going down? All right, that's it. With the brand new parts, it just takes a little bit more effort to get them to sit flush, so the press definitely comes in handy. And you guys can buy a manual press. You don't have to have a pneumatic one like this. It'll do the same thing. You're just cranking it by hand. Those are pretty cheap. Next, we have brand new split locking hub rings that go in like that, and then the locking hub ringerizer. I don't know. I'm making up a lot of the names of these parts. I don't know if that's called the split locking ring, but that's what it does. We got our little plastic ball bearing synchro hub teeth risers. I don't know. And then we have our slide going on, and you can see here where those plastic pieces are supposed to line up. All right, once they fit in, we go like that. Sweet, we're getting there. Now we have our blocker on this side. It's gonna fit into a little groove. Our new upgraded carbon fiber rings. There we go. This has its own groove too. And there we go, slid right in. Okay, cool, we're getting there. And this is sliding nicely. Excellent. Next, we have our first gear, and we have our roller bearings. We're gonna slide that in there, and then we'll guide this down as an assembly. Little shimmy sham. There we go. Now we have the synchros lined up, and we can do some gear shifting. Feels good. Feels really good. That's perfect. So we are in first gear. We want to go to second. And we go into second. Next is our bearing. It's about 275 degrees in the oven. This is the time where we're going to take that 15 thousandths of an inch measurement and make sure that we duplicate that. So I'm going to leave 2 of my feeler gauges down there so we can plop the bearing down right on them, make sure we get this perfect. Here we go. Hot, hot, hot. Ho, 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 ho. Perfect. And you know what? We'll just leave that there until it cools off and contracts, and then we'll pull the feeler gauges out, because if we move them now, it'll drop more. So that was awesome. All right, next up, we have our last piece in the oven, at least for now. These grooves face down, and this rests right on there. We're leaving those feelers in. Perfect. Right now, I'm cooling everything off before we pull the feeler gauges. It's not going anywhere. And I can touch it, so that's a good sign. All right, so now we can pull our feeler gauges, and we know we've set this up exactly the way we got it. Perfect. So we're just using this as a holder. Now we can pull it off so we can reassemble the other sides. We have more needle bearings soaked, and we have a little spacer as well. Now we have third gear going on. We have our new synchro pack, so we have one going there, one going into our grooves, and then the blocker. Just like that. Is there anyone out there that would even consider doing this kind of work? Some people have commented that I have overconfidence in my viewers, like, Alex, no one's gonna actually do that. I know the vast majority are not, but I'm just curious, anyone out there, if you had a manual transmission like this and you watched this video, you know, would you attempt it at home? Yes or no? I forgot to stick this guy in the oven. No big deal. Let's see if it's gonna play nice with us. Play nice. Play nice, thank you. Yes, that's great. See that groove in there? Ow, ow. Tables are hot when you burn them with MAP gas. Oh my gosh, all right. Anyway, we're just tapping this in, not burning ourselves. Next up, we have our snap rings. These can be quite annoying, I must say. Ah, got it. You guys ever go like this? When you're doing something, I'm like, I don't know what it is, but nervous habit? I don't know, but it made it happen, so the old worked. Next up, we have our slider. I'm gonna try this a different way. We're gonna put the slider on first, and then our little plastic teeth guys. Get in there. Manual transmission stuff. There we go. Okay, one at a time. There we go. See, it's got the little ball in there. That's what makes it feel so nice. You shift. We gotta push that in. Oh, that's nice. If you're doing this, put this on first, and then the little plastic teeth majiggers. Name these guys in the comments. Look at that. Name them. What is this? A ball bearing with plastic teeth. That'd be a clever name. All right, cool. That's done. Awesome. We are getting there, guys. This is looking like a real transmission again. I haven't seen too many exciting pieces of glitter until now. I just realized there's a couple little pieces in there. That's probably the teeth. All right, guys, before we move on, I want to clean up the case because we're getting to the point where we're going to need to put new seals in, and we're going to use release to degrease it, and then we're going to try out this aluminum brightener product. Supposedly, it's going to make this thing really shine. It's going to make the aluminum brighter. because it's called aluminum brightener. So we're just going to spray some release all over. We'll let it sit for a couple minutes. And then I'm actually just using a plastic brush because this isn't really that bad. Get in all the little grooves. All right, and then we're just using water. Really give this thing a good cleaning. We're gonna get inside of the case as well. Even though we didn't really see much metal or any shavings in here, this will ensure there's literally nothing. Nothing at all. And the magnets don't have any chunks or anything. It's just a little bit of grime, but we'll clean those. And they are RTV'd in, which is kind of cool. Bam. Oh yeah, this is perfectly clean. That's just RTV in there, and we're gonna leave it. The case is degreased, and now we're just gonna spray this on. Let's get a mist going, and we just let it sit on here for about 20 to 30 seconds, and supposedly it's gonna brighten some stuff up. Some aluminum. Let's see if this works. Ooh, it's fizzling. It's doing something, I think. It smells. That's a good sign. Let's give this a little rinse, see if it looks any different. I don't know, guys. All right, it's pretty much all gone. I mean, there's areas like this that look pretty good. Then a lot of it's still dark. You know, look at that. Like this looks good. And then do this again, and it says you can scrub stubborn areas. I think we're gonna lose this sticker soon. There's a final rinse. That's about as much effort as I'm gonna put into this. It does look better, I gotta give it that. I don't know, guys, about the old aluminum brightener. I'm gonna say probably save your money on that. We have a new input shaft seal, so we're gonna take this one out. There we go. Okay, that's gone. Here's our new seal. Get it in there nice and straight. Then we have a nice little seal driver kit. This is awesome. I've used it about 4,000 times. Find the right cup and some love taps. Oh, there's that noise. We just bottomed out. And it's perfectly flush. Great. I've cleaned up the mating surface here on the case, so it's time for our input shaft. We'll get a little bit of oil on the bearing. I already have it on the inner race. We're going past our new seal. There we go. Nice and nice. And then you guys know how to do synchros. Inner, outer, blocker. We'll do a little bit more oil in there. It's time for this gigantic chunk of stuff. Woo! We're almost there, guys. Oh, you know what? We gotta clean this too. Ah, there we go. You can see a little bit of metal there. You don't want that. Brake clean action. All right, that pretty much did it. She's clean. With this all cleaned up, I've installed a new O-ring. There we go. Perfect. Next, we have to tackle some shift fork pads. We're gonna replace these, although these aren't broken. They look to be in decent condition. They just kind of pry off like that. And if you look on the inside, they do have a groove. And yeah, these don't look to have really worn out much at all. Here's the new one, and we'll just snap it right into place. There we go, just like that. We'll go around and do all of them. So there is a bronze upgrade, I guess, for these. It is seriously split on the internet as to which one is better or worse. But it seems like for a street car, you want to go with the plastic ones, new ones, and maybe if you're more into racing, the bronze, you know, is something you want to consider, but it is bronze. It does wear down. I don't know, guys. It's 50-50, but where I ordered all the parts, they build like $10,000, $12,000 TR66s. They say they just replace them with the plastic and call it a day, and it works fine. All four of these are done. Now we have the shift shaft bushing right here. This is the only one that's different. It's just a little smaller. Just enough room to get it out, I hope. There we go. Oh, that one broke. Yeah, they do get brittle. And we have our new one. There we go. Cool, that slides freely, we're good. All right, guys, I messed something up. It's no big deal, but we're just gonna pop this out like that. Put it back on the table, and then we're gonna install this. It's gonna be much easier to put this back on as an assembly. There we go. Okay, cool. Then as an assembly, we're gonna drop this down. Just like that. That is nice. That's how you do it. It's not possible to put this on and then this. So, cool. Next up is our counter shaft. It's got an A on it for Alex and a B for boy. And this has to line up with our oil pump. So this does have a pump that's built into the bell housing. So that is very interesting. There are some newer GM automatics that have this as well. Doesn't really matter which way this is clocked. We just got to get it to line up. All right. Is that it? Oh, I got it. They have meshed together. Welcome. All right, good deal. Next we have the shift shaft. So it's gonna go in like this. That part is easy, but we need these two to be over here, which is not that easy. So I have to lift this up. Yeah, I think we're gonna need a mallet here. Just gonna knock this in. There we go, that's what we need right there. Mallet is your friend here. Don't use an actual hammer. Mallet, that's what it's made for. Guys, we are getting there. It's looking much more complete. Next up is our cleaned up case. So this is what it looks like dry. It's that looks good. All right, guys, this is a little embarrassing, but all of my pressurized cans of RTB and my little caulk gun thing they all have some kind of issue, so we're going old school here. We're just squeezing it out of the tube. Yeah, this is fun. All right, we have our cleaned up case going back onto our other case. RTV is laid down, we got dowel pins, and there are a couple things we have to do at the same time, so let's just do it. We're gonna slide this guy on, and we have to line things up just right. Okay, slide down. There we go. There's that, and then I think now what we're hung up on could be the filter or the shift shaft assembly. Oh no, that's through. So it's the filter. Hang on. Ugh, we gotta get up on the table here. What is going on? All right, here's my view. So no, that's not what's holding us up. We have the shift shaft through. Something's holding us up. It just needs a little wiggle, a little shimmy. Come on, baby. Oh, there we go. There's like 5 things that have to line up at the exact same time, including my little shifter part here. It's stuck in the gate right now. Great. Ah, there we go. Okay, now can we go down? Oh, we're kind of down. Stuck on dowels probably. Ah, did I do it? Yes. No, it's not all the way down. Jeez, I was gonna celebrate early. There we go. We got it. Woo! Just, about 14 things need to line up at the exact same time. That's all I can say there. Okay, get the mallet for the win here. This is a new roll pin. We have to get that to line up about right there. Yeah. Love tap time. All right, new roll pin is in. We're gonna replace a piece of plastic with bronze in this. It is for the shifter. This is one of those situations where these do crack and become brittle. So we're gonna use one of these. There we go. Perfect. All right, now we have a couple of pins, and we have to hold the transmission in neutral in order for these to line up. They come factory sealed as well, and definitely don't start these with the gun. All right, we'll tighten up our new pins. Alex Torx. Click, 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 click. All right, that's done. Now, should be able to shift some gears here, and what I want to really check out is that we have a good neutral. Yeah, there we go. All right, we're going back and forth in neutral. This is spinning nicely. Cool. Just want to do these checks periodically. We're good. All right, so I just got one bolt tightened. Now we can flip it and get the rest. We're gonna move this thing down on our professional transmission fixing table. Oh. So now we're just gonna make this cake pan a little bit lighter. I mean, cupcake tin or muffin tin. What is the difference? Is there a difference? Does anyone know? Who's into baking out there? I mean, I like to eat baked products, but I don't know if I've ever actually baked anything like 100% myself. Any bakers? What do you like to bake? Going a little crisscross pattern. All right, guys, it's time to start cutting some zip ties. I know this piece goes right on here, like that. And then we should have a little spacer, and we got a new one of these. Quite a few new spacers, so we have to match it up every time. That is it. Okay, cool. And then anything old, I'm just throwing right into the box of old parts. Now we can slide this spacer on, like so. Next up, we have our 6th gear, all lubricated, ready to go back on. It's good to get these needle bearings in there at the same time. Perfect. And now it's our favorite part, synchros. So we have all of these synchros soaking. These are all the same, which is nice. Bam, double, bam, triple bam, locker, old stuff. Ah, stay. And here's our hub that's most likely going to need some heat. Yeah, it's gonna need some heat. All right, no problem. Just gonna use some fire. These don't require that much heat. That's actually what the instructions say, is to just torch these guys. All right, hot, 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 hot. Oh, there we go. Love taps. Wow, that was nice. All right, old parts go away. There's lots of big chunks of stuff disappearing from this end. That's good. This is so scary to do these C-clips. This is my scared look. I gotta say, these C-clips, they don't have a nice little notch, so they just slip. It's annoying. 3 minutes later. There we go. Perfect. Next we have our synchro slider. We have new pads for the shift fork already installed. And on this you do have to line up the teeth for our little plastic pieces. I'm gonna try and slide this on first though. Oh, we got it. Okay. Bam. All right. Oh, one of the most satisfying parts of this job, those clicks, they're so good. Love those clicks. Now, if there's anyone out there that's amazed at how do you remember all these little parts, I don't. Honestly, making the videos is a lifesaver. Before I made videos, I would take a ton of pictures, but I almost forgot something. See this C-clip right here? I kind of forgot all about that, and it goes right here. I mean, I would have remembered eventually. I mean, this thing has to be held in and there's a C-clip for the other one. But it's just really nice to look over all your steps in a video. So let's get this on. All right, this is going on. That's snapped in, we're good. Okay, perfect. It's also imperative on a job like this that you have work instructions, and I do have those, so we would have seen eventually that we need that C-clip right there, but sometimes the pictures aren't the best. Being able to literally watch your own video is way, way, way better. New plastic spacer, and our blocker goes in first on this side, fits into the grooves. Got this one. There we go. More needle bearings, more gears. Gears everywhere. Slide this guy on. Okay, now we gotta make sure that this lines up. Now they give us a brand new spacer in the rebuild kit. So now we have these parts that need to go in the box. And then this snap ring is eventually gonna be right here. So that'll take me like 5 minutes. We're back to our Easy Bake Oven. We need this right here, the 5th, 6th driven gear. Gotta act quick. This is one of the ones we had to pull off. Oh, look at this. Is so crazy, by the way, guys. In a few moments, this will be frozen on there permanently. But right now, because it's expanded, it's loosey-goosey. Well, the transmission is almost all the way put back together, and I messed something up. I want to try and get these half-moon washers in. They should fit right in, but they don't. And it looks like this gear actually needs to go down like the tiniest amount. And do you guys remember when I set the feeler gauges in there and we set that bearing properly? So I'm gonna leave 2 of my feeler gauges down there so we can plop the bearing down right on them, make sure we get this perfect. That's the bearing right there. And if it went down more, all of this would shift down just a tad. I measured it perfectly, but it's not actually in the work instructions to set that. According to the instructions, you just heat the bearing up and just slide it all the way down. I didn't do that because I'd read a couple articles online where there's either a shim there or you have to set that tolerance. So that's what I did. I just set it back the same way I had it, but we did replace hard parts in there that could mess with the entire length of everything. So at this point, I'm gonna take all these gears back apart and try and tap that bearing just a little bit more. That should give us a little bit of room. So kind of messed up there. If this works, I'm gonna go ahead and say to not even bother with the feeler gauges, or if you're replacing it with new parts, you know, maybe take like 5/1000ths off. All right, so this gear is coming right off. I'm just heating up the gear right above it and a little bit of that inner race of the bearing. And this is luckily hardened steel. And where we need to tap on doesn't need to spline or mesh with anything. We found this, and let's see this. Yeah, this is great. Shorter one would be nice, but it's okay. Couple love taps, and we'll see where we're at. So while I was giving it some love taps, this was back in the oven. It slid right back on, just like before, and I think it's gonna fit. Look at that. You can already tell it's like about the right size. Oh, that's beautiful. All right, guys, so just have that bearing bottom out and call it a day. Yeah, and we'll get this on like that, and then this covers them both up like that. Perfect. This moves perfectly. Everything is good. Feels beautiful. Woo! Disaster averted there. It was the lightning looking down on us. I will finish you one day, little buddy. You'll be back. I mean, look, I have LegitStreetCars headlights. You know I'm keeping it forever. We're almost there, guys. We have this gear here. We know which way it faces because it's all white, and this one definitely just bottoms out. Like that. Or maybe we should just measure a gap and put it like that. Just kidding, we're done. I'm trying to do things the right way. According to a couple articles, they said to measure that. It's just so weird. We have a C-clip. Get over there. There we go. We got a hub coming out of the oven. And then we have this new piece of plastic that goes like that. Then we have our ship fork going on, and this is the one I marked with the center punch. And where's my mark? Where are you, Mark? Any marks watching? Where are you, Mark? Oh, here it is. There's Mark. Line up the mark. There we go, mark and mark. And then we got our plastic teeth things. Oh, beautiful snaps. And one last one. Okay, what is that called? ASMNR, whatever. What is that? When something sounds really cool? That's what this is. We are down to our last synchros. And this is our reverse gear, last gear too. It's gonna be bittersweet. It won't be inside this transmission anymore. The last blocker, ready to block. And then our friction, ready to frictionize. And our inner, ready to innerize. Our last dunking of a bearing into our styrofoam cup is going on right now. Slide on down. Da, da, da. This does not deserve a Back to the Future moment. I don't know what I'm doing right now. We have a new washer here and a snap ring. And next we have this ring, this bearing with my white facing outside, even though it doesn't make any difference. And yet another ring. Now I just have to go through 2 before we hit the groove we need. I think this is the last thing coming out of the oven, which is the reluctor wheel for our pickup. I did mark it even though it doesn't make any difference again. So I did have to put a snap ring down right here for this to stop at some point. There we go. And now we're gonna get a snap ring to go, well, after it gets past that, right there. Next, we have our shift shaft extension. And I think this is for the reverse lockout. Almost positive that we have a roll pin. Use a punch here so we don't accidentally hit this mating surface. Bam. All right, guys, hang on. I gotta show you something pretty cool with the borescope. Right there is our shift shaft internal to the transmission. You can see it moving. There's different grooves. And that's what this detent roller is. It has a spring here, so that's gonna get it installed this way, and it's just gonna kind of make everything feel a lot better because the shift shaft is gonna have to ride on this roller, and because of the spring, it'll kind of move in and out. So it has to be installed this way, like that. And then in our rebuild kit, we get a new retainer bolt, and I've put some Teflon sealer on there, and we just screw it in like that. Okay, so this is neutral, and this is first. And remember I was talking to you guys in the first video about the skip shift eliminator. That's what this is. See, it's plugged off. It's gonna screw in here. It's kind of hard to see, but a solenoid's gonna pop out, and there's a groove in there, and it will guide you right into 4th gear. So right now we're just reinstalling this, you know, so it doesn't leak transmission fluid everywhere. There's a seal there. But the skip shift eliminator is there for fuel economy. So you go right to 4th and your RPMs go down, and I'm sure it makes absolutely no difference on a Camaro, but it's there. It's time for our shifter plate, which is just some RTV. Get around the bolts too. All right, cool. So this is the ball that's gonna fit into our new bronze shifter bushing, and then we just have the 4 bolts. We're gonna do our output shaft seal before this housing goes back on. Here's our brand new seal in the kit. I like to kind of push them in as much as you can. There we go. Nice and flush. We'll reseal this cover now. And some more RTV in. All right, we're sealing this bad boy up right now. Hopefully I did everything right. That worked out. Now I did take pictures of where all of these tags go. There are like 4 of them. And that one goes there. There's one right next to it. Another one right next to it. And this one right here, this is just so the harness has little tabs to snap into. It's a nice little touch. And when I ordered all my parts, they wanted to know the tag number because there are some little differences here and there. And I noticed that in the instructions as well. There's some parts we either had or didn't have because they've changed things over the years. Here's our reverse lockout solenoid, goes right here. So this does exactly what it sounds like. It prevents you from going into reverse when you're in drive. That would be very, very bad. Old manuals don't have this. We have the temp sensor all gooped back up so it doesn't leak. And I'm just using a high performance thread sealant because it's a high performance car. Just kidding. Use that on every car. Now we have our reverse sensor, which is for the light switch as well. GM used a lot of goop. I'm using a lot of goop. This one's in kind of an awkward spot. Click. Last sensor. There we go. Speed sensor. Senses the speed. The more you know. Yoke is next. And we have our nut and washer. Transmount going in. Time for our factory shifter. I don't really feel the need for a short throw for this car. It feels great, you know, if it's not grinding up gears. This just has a couple of pins that go in. Then once I get this guy in, we'll be able to kind of row some gears here, make sure everything feels good. You know, if it doesn't, you'd have to rip apart the whole transmission, but let's just hope it does. There we go. There's that 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We don't have reverse yet because of reverse lockout is not activated, but yeah, it feels great. Although that means absolutely nothing because with the engine off, felt great before too. It's really gonna be under some load. We'll be there soon. All right, we're getting to clutch hydraulics here, people. We have a new slave cylinder, new throwout or release bearing. Feels a little bit tighter than this, but I don't think this was causing any issues. This is just a nice factory replacement. It's gonna slide on like that. And we just have 2 little 10s holding it on. Now we just have this line here that will push right in. Clip. All right, guys, that'll do it for the transmission. She is freshly rebuilt, new slave cylinder. We will come right back to that in a moment, but we have a couple of engine while you're in there is to take care of. Mostly this rear main seal leak. It's pretty apparent that it's coming right from the seal. There is a rear cover here that in my experience doesn't leak all that often, if ever. It's usually the rear main seal. And so we need to replace that and we'll get a new pilot bearing or pilot bushing in, even though this one is fine. Now, before we touch anything oil related, and because we want to do an oil change anyway, we are going to, you guessed it, drain out the oil. Got a little on the floor. It happens every time. Before you take out any seal, just verify that it's either flush or recessed and how much. This is perfectly flush, so we know where it needs to go. And they give you these little slots to pry the seal out. The hammer helps. So we have the oil drain. You can already see some leaking out. It was definitely right there. When they get old, they actually get a lot easier to take out. They get a little loosey-goosey. All right, so we're just gonna clean this area up. Then the new rear main seal comes with a plastic tool, so that will help with alignment. There we go. And that's it. It's just needed to slide it on. Then we can use our old seal as an installment tool and just tap all the way around. These are really easy to install too. Takes just a few minutes. You just have to have the transmission out. That's the big problem. All right, feels good. Let's get this oil filter out of here. Oil on this car looks really good. Probably doesn't have many miles on it. We'll give this a little bit of a clean before it goes back together. I love cleaning stuff. We'll never see this, but we know. All right, we're gonna pre-fill our new oil filter, little on the seal, and screw it on. With our new oil filter on, we're gonna move on to a plethora of new parts before the transmission goes in, like that pilot bearing right here. I have a new one, and we have this whole new clutch and flywheel assembly. But anyway, one part at a time. So this is our pilot bearing puller tool. It's all right here. It's pretty neat. And this is gonna go on the inside like that. And then we're gonna rest this on the crank, tighten this guy down, and that will pull the tool where it needs to be. Oh, it's coming out. There we go. The beginning will be a little tough, and then it'll get really easy. Goodbye, old friend, old bearing. Ah, don't fall on me, jeez. I've cleaned out the bore in the crank, so we're gonna line this guy up. And then I'm just gonna use a seal driver plate just to cover the inside and outside race. Tap it in. And final step is a socket that fits the outer race. This is recessed in just a little bit. It bottoms out though, so you know exactly when you're done. Nice and smooth. We are ready for the clutch system, and I am gonna be replacing this with the factory clutch system. We are not upgrading it, but these factory GM clutches are really great. A lot of guys have seen like 550, 600 wheel on these, and obviously it's dependent on how good of a driver you are, but you wanna see how great the factory original clutch is. So this is the original clutch, 0.3660. Here is our brand new clutch, 0.3660. And I know a lot of you guys were like, oh, this car has been beaten on the tires or bald. Well, the tires were spinning, not the clutch, and we had no clutch issues whatsoever. So even though we had that bad gear, you know, that could have been just one person that was maybe learning how to drive stick and just jammed it in a few times and destroyed it. The car's clean. I don't actually think it was just beaten down like crazy. It has the factory 2009 engine mounts that are hydraulic filled. Usually those go out when you're banging gears and going crazy. So we could totally put all the factory clutch stuff back in, but the clutch does have springs that wear out that are 14 years old. So, you know, it was like about 550 bucks, or maybe it was like 650 with the flywheel. While we're in there, it's a good idea. But if you were just flipping this car, technically, you could have done like $250 worth of parts in the transmission, put this all back, shipped it. All right, so we have our brand new flywheel going in, and there is a dowel here, so it can only go on one way. We have brand new bolts with factory Loctite, and don't walk away until one's started. Like if that fell on your head, you'd have like a really cool looking tattoo on the top of your head that would hurt. We're gonna pull these in with a gun, just very gently. Our first step is 15 foot-pounds. All right, we're gonna go star pattern on all this. There we go. Next up is 37. And now we have 74. Yeah, we're gonna need to hold the old crank. I got that set up. Give it the old 2-arm. There we go. Whew, get my workout in today. We're gonna brake clean off the mating surface of the pressure plate and the flywheel. And if you guys are curious on how a pressure plate and flywheel all work in the reveal of this car, I do a little explanation. I'll link it and timestamp it down below if you haven't seen that. Pretty cool how it works. All right, don't want any kind of oil or anything here. Next, we need to line up the clutch and the pressure plate and the flywheel, and they give you a tool to line up the splines, and this works, it's plastic, but if you have an input shaft laying around from a T56 or a TR6060, this works a little better. This does say flywheel side, which means the other side is for the pressure plate, so I'll put it down like that, flip it over, and now we are gonna stick our spare input shaft right through, and then this is gonna line up with that new pilot bearing we installed to keep everything straight while we tighten it. Now, it makes it a little bit more difficult and heavy, but you must just be strong like bull. Don't drop it or have the input shaft pop out and hit you in the face. All right, so we are lined up right now. Once you hit the dowel, you kind of want to just hold this too. Okay, perfect. So we're in the pilot. We have this spline together, and there are 3 dowels around the pressure plate to kind of help you out too. We have brand new pressure plate bolts, a little bit of blue Loctite. We'll get this started. All right, that's one. And as this gets sucked in, there will be a little bit of pressure. All right, now with that, we can remove our shaft, and the clutch is being held perfectly in between the plates. With the input shaft in there, we are now going to torque. This is actually 4 stages for this. And even though it looked like these are bottomed out right now, we are pulling this in. You can actually see the fingers move just a little bit. And because of that, I'm gonna go in a star pattern, just kind of get this thing to seat evenly all around. Everything is seated, and this is now the 4th torque spec, which is annoying. And we're doing the 2-arm. Okay, star pattern. Okay, you get the idea. This is difficult. With that torqued, we can pull out our input shaft tool. And just like that, we have a brand new rear main seal, new pilot bearing, and an entire new clutch system. We're ready for you. It's just as heavy as before. It might be a little heavier. No, it's not. It's got a new gear. Okay. Okay. Whew. Thanks. Chained up, ready to go. Whee! All the room in the world. Here we go. The clutch kit comes with a little bit of lubricant. By a little bit, I mean like barely any. So we're just gonna get right here, get the splines a little bit. And you know the economy's bad when they're skimping on the spline lubricant here with your clutch kit. Come on. Remember the days when they give you like 3 ounces of this stuff? Good old days. Up she goes. I got this lined up pretty well right now. Get in there. Dowels line up. Okay, I think we're good. Dowels are lined up, and we'll get a couple bolts in on the bottom here. Only start tightening these bolts when you know for sure the dowels are lined up. We'll lift up the back of the trans, get this at a nice angle. We have an engine and a transmission. We have all the bell housing bolts done. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap everything up. It's the drive shaft and the exhaust mostly. You guys have seen me take all this stuff apart, and I wanna get to the ride. And I also just wanna say before the end of the video, thank you guys so much for watching my videos, because they are kind of long, and you guys always stick around, and the comments kind of show that you watch till the end, and I really appreciate it. But anyway, you've already seen this stuff, so let me just do one of these. Just like that, it's all done. Exhaust, drive shaft is hooked up, cross member, everything. Now, we just need some fluids, and we're going for a cruise without any. Just like the last video, we have to pump transmission fluid in, but this time, I'm gonna go for the AMSOIL, the good stuff. And I covered this in the reveal video, but many of you guys asked why I'm using automatic transmission fluid in a manual transmission, and that's simply because it calls for automatic transmission fluid, Dextron 3, which is the older stuff we used a lot in GMs. That's what this transmission is supposed to have, so that's what I'm putting in it. And just like a differential, when the fluid starts coming out, you are done. So we'll cap off the fill. Clutch fluid is topped up, so we'll bleed that in a moment. But anytime you know you got your engine oil drained, I like to just, top it up right away. You never want to forget. All right, so we're going in with 5W30 AMSOIL, and I think this thing takes like 7 quarts or something. It's kind of nice. Just like in the last video, we're bleeding the clutch. It's just like bleeding brakes. There's a bleeder screw up there. We loosen it, and we suck the fluid out. All right, we got nice clear fluid going on, and I capped off the master, so we should be good. Clutch fluid is topped up. Oil has been checked. Interior is back together. Let's do this, guys. Let's drive it. This feels beautiful. All right, first start. Love the LS. There we go, first gear. Perfect. All right, here we go, guys. We're in first right now. Felt really good, but that was very light acceleration. Let's get through all the gears first. 3rd, 4th, get into 5th, and into 6th. All right, cool. We're good. All right, we'll give it half the beans. Oh, yes! What is that? Okay, that's not good. This is it, guys. This is the noise. One of the clips, I pushed it in, but there was only a little nub left, and it popped out. So I got to zip tie it. That was scary. I mean, hopefully that's what it is, but it sounded just like this, and the wind was taking it. Whew. Okay, I ended up just zip tying it, guys. The little nub there wasn't working out. That should be good. All right, hang on. Before we hit the road, let's use the dyno. There it is. What in the world is that? I took the beautiful exhaust heat shield off, and the center support bearing dust boot has come apart. And I think this is whacking that heat shield. Oh yeah, that's gotta be it. Okay, there it is. All right, let's see. Second. Oh, that's what it was, guys. 3rd, nothing. Oh, ho, ho, ho. Oh my gosh, guys. That boot must have had like a hairline crack that I didn't notice when I took it out. And then just by taking it out and, you know, bending it a little bit when you take it out, it must have just ripped to shreds when we drove it the first time. Why? Why do cars do this to me? It's fine. Everything is fine, but we need a new dust boot, obviously, but I'm so glad it's not internal to the transmission. Let's go for another ride. I want to really feel this thing. Yeah, we have service StabiliTrak now because it freaked out on my dyno. One day I'll have a real dyno. Traction control lights turned off. Just needed to see all 4 wheel speed. Oh my God, it goes in so nice. This trans is mint, guys. Wow. Woo! She is fixed, baby. Rebuilt transmission, new clutch, engine oil change. I don't even remember what else we did to this thing, but it is back. Feels good too. Oh guys, this is hilarious. This is not me. If you guys see a lot of my outros, you know I'm in this little circle area. It's seriously not me. I know the tires are bald, but you saw the reveal video. They were bald when I got it. Someone was having fun over here. Seriously, none of this was me. I swear, I'm not even kidding. The track marks before were not me. This thing has bald tires, so it'll just burn out at will, even at like 1500 RPM. Pretty fun. Oh, I love this car. This is so cool. All right, guys, I'm about to get on the highway. I'm taking this thing home to show my family. I'm so excited. But just as a reminder, this is what my transmission sounded like before going 1 to 2. Oh, yeah. Okay. Here's what it sounds like now. All you hear is engine, baby. Woo! This thing is sweet. I highly recommend you guys get yourself a 5th generation Camaro SS with the manual. And look at how low these RPMs are when you're cruising on the highway. That'll definitely make for some pretty decent fuel economy, but boy, oh boy, do I have an awesome Camaro video coming up for you guys. We are going to make this thing more powerful. It's gonna handle better, and it's gonna get better fuel economy. I kind of did something similar with my EcoVet about 5 years ago. 39.8 mpg. I have a few more ideas for this one, so we're gonna make an Eco Marrow, and we have to do tires and a few cosmetic things. This car is going to be cherry, and I hope you guys joined me for that video, and I hope you really enjoyed this one as well. And if you did, give the video a big thumbs up, share the video with your friends and family, subscribe to the channel. It's free, it's easy, it's 1 click, and it really helps me out. But most importantly, I hope all of you guys have an awesome day. I'll see y'all in the next video. Did I just say y'all? I think I just said y'all, like naturally. I'm from Chicago. Y'all? It's really in there. Oh, I was just hitting the case. I'm an idiot. Yeah, I don't know. We'll skip that. All right, so I have a nice, what do you call cutoff t-shirts like this? And we're gonna try out an aluminum brightener product that I wanna try. I said that already. B-roll, 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 B-roll. And B-roll, B-roll, B-roll. Wait a minute, is this one was born the day later? 521, 520, this is like the big brother. They're like twins. Maybe it happened at like 11:55 at night, and then 5 minutes later, that one came out. That's probably what happened.